I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today, guys, we're going to review the new Sublime with Rome album, Yours Truly. Sublime with Rome. Tom, it's Sublime, right? It's Sublime.
Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't heard Sublime, well, where have you been, man? I mean, unfortunately, you know, their main singer-songwriter died back in 1996. 15 years ago. They had put out some killer albums. For me personally, 40 Ounce to Freedom, their first album, and then Self-Titled, which actually came out like a month after Brad Knoll died, are two of my personal favorites. I think they're two absolute masterpieces. I never liked Robin Hood, the album that was in between the two, as much, but I know a lot of people did. That's cool. But the thing, my point being that in the compact, too short time that this band was around in the early 90s, they put out some great stuff. Some stuff that has really impacted the music scene with their blend of reggae and ska and punk that kind of draws from bands like Bad Brains back in the 80s. And they did it so well, and they just had great songwriting. I mean, Brad Knoll, to me, is probably one of the best songwriters of the 90s. And he was a killer guitarist, had so much attitude and energy, and it's what drove the band. And
Just raw intensity and authenticity.
He was a totally genuine dude. And when he died in 1996, it was really tragic. And I really feel bad for Eric and Bud, the bass player and drummer, because, you know, they didn't deserve to have that happen to them. They've been in some bands since then and have been doing well for themselves, but, you know, this was their big thing. And honestly, you can tell here that it is the same bass player and drummer.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, and I'm very happy for them that they were able to find someone to, you know, at least on stage, replace Brad, so they could at least get out and play some of these songs that they wrote back in the day, because they're great songs. These are great guys, and they deserve to do that. That's really what you need to take away from this album about, is that, you know, this is just them having fun, playing the songs that they want to play again. And they were able to find something they could do that with, because obviously they're not going to be writing the same quality songs that they were back in the 90s. They're missing a key element. But for them to be able to at least just put something new out, get back into the studio, make something that a lot of people are listening to, and shows that a lot of people, and playing shows that a lot of people will go to. That's what this is all about. And I respect the hell out of that, because I'll tell you what, Eric Wilson is as a bass player, one of my favorite bass players, really influenced me and the way I play bass. And that's all over the place on this album.
The bass is the highlight.
Yeah, and even the drums do a great job. Now, obviously, this guy, Rome, he's very young, early 20s. He's a great guitarist. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure if he even wrote a lot of the songs on here. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know what role everyone played. I mean, like I said, you can tell that they're not quite as great. But it's fun to listen to. I'm more than anything, while I wasn't particularly impressed with this album, to me that's not really what it's about. And to an average listener out there, I think you should have a different attitude with it than we have to for critical reviewing sake.
Yeah, if you're just taking this at face value, it's just some decent instrumentation, specifically bass and drum. And then just that fun, uplifting mood. Now, you know, I'm glad that this band had to change their name. They had to, you know, Brad Knoll, actually, he had ownership over the name Sublime.
So the family stopped them from
using
it.
And they tried to use Sublime again, so they couldn't. There was a lawsuit. Long story short, they named it Sublime with Rome. I think that's kind of funny. And it's called Yours Truly. And it is very much a different band now. It is not the same thing, and so big Sublime fans need to take that with a grain of salt, too. This is a different band.
You can't just say, oh, it's not self-titled. Well, duh. What the hell do you expect?
But it is a different band, and their approach is completely different in how they're making this album. And I gotta tell you, I did not like this album. I feel like the score I'm going to give this is even a little high, and it's mostly just because I like the bass parts so much that I'm going to give it the score that I am. But really, I felt like this is just cookie cutter songs with you know, there are some glimpses in there of prior Sublime where you get that ska or punk and that intense authenticity in there, and you know, but most of that's on the first few tracks of the album, and then the second half gets even worse, and is just what I have is just this verse, chorus, Bieber, chorus structure that's just over and over again. You have these 2.5 to 3.5 minute songs that are just meant to be on a playlist or meant to be radio friendly, and it just gets bland as all get out. I can't stand it. And I feel like I'm just listening to the same track over and over again. I'm bored. It's predictable. It's unoriginal. And quite frankly, I don't think I didn't really don't think it needs to be made. So many bands, so many artists have done this, recreated this, rehashed this. It's like Sublime doing a shitty cover of Sublime, and I just don't like that. It's not. I just personally feel like it would have just been better left alone, or done something completely different with. Now, I want to make a comment on Rome's vocals. Tom made, he made the assertion. This guy's young. He's a good guitar player. All that stuff. And while I agree, he is young, he is a good guitar player, being a good guitar player and having good guitar parts on an album, having interesting guitar work on an album, and in comparison with being this guitar master and really showing your abilities in a recording, I don't think that he actually shows his full potential of his abilities here, and I think that the music is hindered because of that.
It's too safe.
Yes,
sure.
And I also feel like his vocals are way too safe. There's almost it's almost like this. You get these sing along choruses that I'm like, this is Sublime is supposed to be this this attitude-driven monster that just gets at you and just gets you pumped up, right? That was their laurels before, and I feel like now it's just this. Why? I mean, are you going for teenage girls to sing with you at your shows? I mean, is that what you want? That's the impression I get off the vocal presentation here. I was very disappointed in that. While I like the guy's voice, I feel like it was way too safe of an approach. I feel like he really should have put more into it, ballsed up, maybe even yelled a bit more, just made it more intense, maybe made it more of an authentic experience. That's my big criticism. I have a lot of negative things to say about this, to add to what you did. I think that this is just overall extremely underwhelming. And to me, that marks a low 50s album. I'm going 53 on this one.
I'm going 57.
I'm interested to see what you guys thought. I know a lot of you guys might have liked this a lot, just are happy to see Sublime return. What did you think of our analysis, of our critique of the band, of where they've gone now, where this new take on Sublime is coming from, and going in the future? Love to hear your comments at www.velocitiesandmusic.com, youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic, Facebook, Twitter, do it, because, even if you're not writing us a full written request, just type us something that you're interested in and maybe a new album, and we might put it on our list. So thanks a lot, guys. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
Well,